Welcome to Continue Mission Radio with Captain James McCormick. By veterans, for veterans. Guest hosts tonight are author Greg Meakin and Miss Val, our military radio gal. Continue Mission starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. You got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back, cause baby, you're the
We are live. Good morning. This is Continue Mission on the Secrets from the Inside Radio Network. I'm Val Olson, your facilitator, and this is Greg Meakin. How are you doing, Greg?
Wow, what an amazing morning. What a great
Hello, Greg.
day. What a great day to be alive, Val. We're over the election. We're past November 5th, so everything's great. Okay, this is like post Super Bowl, post wedding, where everyone says, okay, let's just relax. Let's take it easy. There's so much now that the game's over, now that the Super Bowl's over and we won. There's so much to kind of just relax, catch up on. There's so much news, so much going on. There's a lot of new name players in the world, such as some of the, let's just say, Trump appointees. Really good stuff to talk about. I'm going to defer some of the kind of political talk and stuff until Captain James comes in. Captain James McCormick. We always update early in the show because our secret guests will sometimes parachute in, parachute out. To this moment, I've got, I think, three invitations out there, Val, of potential drop-ins. One of which is James. He's confirmed. So a lot of this stuff, I really want to talk about Trump's appointees. I really want to talk about the border, other stuff. I want to talk about the election. I want to talk about the only 12 reasons why Donald Trump will kick butt. We published that. I listened to that today, Val. And that was 3 days. Yes. That was on election day. Our last time live, you and me, was on election day, the 5th. And we literally laid out what was going to happen that night when Trump won. It was verbatim. The only 12 reasons why Donald Trump will kick butt. Okay, so I might touch on those a little bit later, but and we put that on tape too. It's funny. It was like a review, but it was really, I'm not going to say prophecy. I never use that word, but anyhow, thank you for once again facilitating the broadcast. You are indeed Val Olson, Miss Val, our military radio gal, and I indeed am Greg Meakin. I'm really thrilled to be doing this live again. Once again, this actual broadcast, it's live now and multi-platformed, but indeed will be replatformed, as you well know, Val, and even now relayed and stuff. It's probably going to go far places. But either way, I'm into live stream, not podcasts, live stream. So we do an original, long form, commercial free radio show. And then once again, the party starts once it starts getting replatformed and stuff. We know the power of social media. Do you know, side note, God, it's only 5 past the hour and I'm digressing already. Do you know that, as a side note, do you know that Donald Trump, I think it was about 6 months, I'm guessing, I'll have to fact check this, ago, he became one of those baby boomers who harnesses technology. We've talked about this a million times. Do you know that Barron Trump consulted him on his campaign? And Barron, this again, I hope to confirm this. Barron advised him that live streams and podcasts were the way to go with today's generation, the younger generation. So Trump pivoted on that. And since he's had the Elon Musk X Spaces, which was incredible. Imagine this, over 3 hours of long form with Joe Rogan. God, that only got him what, 10 million votes or something. So Trump was smart enough. He was smart enough to realize that this live stream world that we're doing right now, Val, here we go, right in the camera, right now, right here today. This is the future. This is the future, because you can deliver this product uncensored, uncanceled, undoxed, unscripted, unswatted, the new word. And so I love to be ahead of the curve. I can't wait for Captain James McCormick to come in. As we know, he's our secret guest kind of every time, but Continue Mission. This is actually his founding product, if you will, 8 or 10 years ago. Continue Mission, Friday nights. You and I have hosted it. It goes off at now, 7 p.m. Pacific. And that's noon. That's 7 p.m. Pacific and 10 p.m. Eastern. Continue Mission every Friday night. Fantastic show. Goes out to, we spoke live, did a live broadcast co-hosting to 200,000 military vets, both in the U.S. and Canada, Val. Lots of military vets up in Canada. So imagine that. How's that?
I was on the show this past Friday night. I joined the show, so that was great. I was thrilled to catch up and just get some insider information of what's happening in DC. So hopefully James will elaborate.
I heard a little bit. Catch up on your Continue Mission broadcast. How it went. You were on with Kim Justice and Captain James. Just take a minute or two and catch us up on that and what you guys talked about.
Well, we really went into the unity and how there has to be a uniting of both sides. So we talked about how that's going to look, what's going to work and what's not going to work. And Captain James really gave an eagle-eye view of how we could do it, and also experiences he's had to date. And he's a believer that this model will work.
Example, quick description of this model when you say that.
So he touched on, one story. This was a highlight. He talked about actually walking past Kamala in the White House and how she stopped what she was doing to make contact with him and say hi. And that just spoke volumes to me, like of everything he was talking about and sharing. It was that direct point of contact, because we know James is such a friendly and inviting and welcoming guy. And it doesn't matter who you are, what side you're from. And so when he described that Kamala had, done this, I was just blown away. I was like, you know what, you guys, this is the model. This is what we have to do, because I think there's a falling apart inside the Democrat Party as well. Watch for it in the Republican side. If we don't think that, just because we're on top right now and we've got it all together, we don't. We have infiltrators and dirty rotters, as my grandma used to call them, dirty rotters inside our own Republican Party. So we can use on the fact that we've got losers who have infiltrated both sides of the party. And I think we need to just round them up, put them in a pen and get them out, toss them out, both sides. And then we can just have a big old party in time for Thanksgiving, something like that. But no, I don't want to speak for James, but what James was saying basically in a nutshell was, don't think that just because we've won that we don't have work to do, that we don't have an opportunity to work through issues. And do not, like, what I really liked is he addressed, don't be arrogant and don't be condescending and don't be all of, and, put the white branch out and let's get things done, because the left has their own issues. We have our own issues, but we can unite on, we've got garbage people in both sides. So let's kick them out. Something like that. I mean, I'm not doing it justice, but we touched on those types of things.
2 years ago, might have been more, I told you the best word in marketing is garbage. Do you remember that? I think we even published that. Anyhow, so it's been a great use of that word in the last month or so. I'm glad everybody caught up to us once again, Val. But you are nailing it. You are absolutely nailing it on the head. I'm thrilled about. I didn't know James met Kamala Harris. That's excellent. Yeah. That's excellent. That's excellent. My message, because I've been on this team of rivals concept, right? Team of rivals, Abraham Lincoln. Work with your rivals, not just cross the aisle. I mean, work with those folks towards common goals, common mission. I still say we all agree on 80% of stuff. It's the 20% that people don't agree on. So let's talk about the 80%. And in this case, hearing that olive branch from Kamala Harris, I really like hearing that, because here's my message of the day, Val. You know, I always throw you curveballs too. Sometimes we do beach ball questions. Sometimes we do curveballs. And sometimes we just set up a real toughie, okay? But in this case, my message of the day, I guarantee it won't be put out there publicly. I guarantee it. And it's this, and it really is to my Democrat friends. It occurred to me, do you realize, Val, I had more Democrat and Canadian liberal friends than American Republican friends. I didn't even know what a Republican, other than Ronald, I didn't know what a Republican quote was. I knew who Ronald Reagan was, but I had way more, probably 2/3 liberals, friends, and Democrats, all the way up to maybe 2015 when I said that Donald Trump will win the White House. Then I lost all my Democrat friends. But the message of the day is this, and it's really to my Democrat friends, and it's to the media, and it's to Washington, D.C. is this. It really is. You know, we're allowed to work together. Democrats, I'm just saying, you're allowed to work with Republicans earnestly. Not try and take them down, not go lawfare, not try and devise some way to win in another election, not to cry and whine about the polling numbers. This was an ass kicking. This was a landslide. This is winning a hockey game 10-0 or a Super Bowl like my Seattle Seahawks did. You win it by 100 points. You just win. But that said, to both Republicans stay humble and get to work. Now, and as you can see, it's actually happening. But to my Democrat...
sorry.
Yeah, it's stay still, Val. Sit. Isn't this fun? Don't you love the banter as we just open up shows? I feel like, we could go off air for 3 years and just start like this, because all it is it's always a campfire chat. It's just a banter back and forth. You have what's on your mind, I have what's on my mind, but in the end, we never know what's going to be discussed. It's long form. We have Captain James McCormick coming on, fingers crossed. So you never know where the conversations go, but we're going to bring it back to, and this really is my message for 2025, because I really believe, and I've described this, 2025, I believe, is going to be the year of transparency and justice. I've said this a million times. Transparency, open the kimono. We're all grown-ups. Tell me about UFOs. Tell me about JFK. Tell me about Hunter's laptop. Tell me, whatever. We're grown-ups, and let's process the information. We just don't want it hidden. Americans don't like cover-ups. Val, don't let anyone tell you differently. They don't like cover-ups and lack of transparency. So that said, I really believe that also 2025, and it's beyond my wildest dreams, could be the year of team of rivals. What I've seen Trump do from a business decision standpoint, because he's going to be a CEO this time around. He tried politician in 2016, didn't work. He's going to be CEO. And I'm sitting saying, wait a minute, are you kidding me? RFK Jr., Joe Rogan. Okay, now we got the Bernie Sanders folks. Now we got Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democrat, everybody, and then she went independent. Now she's a Republican. Tulsi Gabbard. Vivek Ramaswamy. Are you telling me Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are heading the Doggy, the Department of Government Efficiency? And they've already got their target of $2 trillion to cut off to cut out of the federal budget, the waste, the garbage, the bureaucracy, the pork, and Ron Paul will be helping advising them. And they're basically like assistants to the CEO. Are you telling me that? So I can't believe, and I'm so optimistic as a libertarian, as a constitutionalist, as a Republican, as a loving this country, loving the founding fathers. I can't wait for 2025. I have no expectations, because I've seen my president through 2 assassination attempts. We have no promises anymore in life. We always knew that, but now more than ever. But I will say, I have never seen a situation where it truly was, I believe, a tipping point involving the team of rivals. That's the key. And the Democrats, believe it or not, there's going to be some votes in Congress and the Senate for the next couple of years. I'm going to tell you, Val, just because you have a small majority in Congress, it doesn't mean you're not going to win these votes overwhelmingly, because there used to be a time when there were what's called truly bipartisan votes. There are going to be a ton of Democrats this year and next year. There are going to be a ton of Democrats that vote on Republican legislation, Val, both in Congress and the Senate. You know why? Because they're going to be great bills. So the big surprise is, I believe, Republicans reaching out to Democrats. Stay humble. It's easy to win. It's so easy to win. It's tough to stay humble. It's tough to be a classy winner, because any and all of us can lose next time around. So, team of rivals, to my Democrat friends, you're allowed to cross the aisle. You don't have to fight us and try and beat us in any way, shape, or form, in any way, to just get power and get elected office. We can work together towards common goals, common mission, and a common good moving forward. You're allowed to do that, and the founding fathers wanted you to do that, and Abraham Lincoln did it. He showed us by creating his team of rivals in the 1800s. Back to you, Val. I ranted, and we haven't even started yet. Back to you.
Well, you basically surmised what I was going to share, because the team of rivals, I'm going to unpack that a little bit, because I'm not advising the president today, but if I was, I would.
Your microphone is kind of like there's a ding or something. It's pretty heavy. If you want to try that again.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. How about now?
I can hear you, but go ahead. Try again.
Okay. So can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Go ahead. There is a thing though. There is like a sound back there, but just go ahead. Again, this will come out on closed captions, so we'll all be okay. But
I
go
think
ahead.
Maybe we have a little interference from Canada. Good morning, you guys. Good morning. Let's keep it civil this morning. I said I'm not advising President Trump right now. However, if I was advising him, I would be sharing that we have a new currency and we have a new culture at the White House. And if you don't look at all players as being potential, we're going to play together to get this done, you're probably not going to be picked for the team. And that's across the board. So I think we're going to see an erasing of the political borderlines. And if you side with this, you're a Democrat. If you side with that, you're a Republican. And you're going to see more, how can we work together? So earlier this week, there was some interference from the Pentagon saying we're not going to follow President Trump. We're not going to follow his rules and instructions. President Trump is the boss. If you don't like your boss, there's the door. Leave. If you want to stay, it's in your best interest to figure out what you can do together mutually as a shared interest. Maybe it's making cotton candy. Maybe it's making cookies. Maybe it's making, I don't know, a new plan to keep America stronger and safer. Whatever it is, you need to find what your mutual agreed upon things while he's in power to do that you can do and do well and do as a team are going to work. So that's just a little snippet from the inside that I'm following. And I think there's going to be some room for turnover. And if you can't get it together in the Pentagon, chances are you're not a team player outside of that. And who's really going to want to hire you? You know, if you don't follow instructions or follow your boss, where else are you going to go to work? You know, who's going to hire you? That's just a side note. And China doesn't count. Okay. China doesn't count. Back to you, Greg.
Val, I love to listen to your monologues. Have I told you that before? And congratulations. I really mean it. Congratulations. We're at 20 minutes past the hour, and you haven't said the word communist yet today, right? You haven't called
tease me.
I'm so proud of you. On that note, and what's really nice, again, this is a Continue Mission broadcast. This really is all about our military, both active duty and vets and stuff. But once again, this all applies to the military. Who's in the White House applies. Who's Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. I'm overjoyed. Pete Hegseth, and a lot of the moves. I'm not at a point at all that I'm going to micromanage any of these decisions just this second. Especially it's on the fly. For example, a lot of people would describe a guy like Marco Rubio, Senator Rubio, who I deeply respect, who he was at war with Trump during the campaigning. People don't remember. I will say, campaign's one thing, but everybody kisses and makes up it to form the administration. And to hear Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, I'm saying I like that. I wouldn't, there are some people out there that maybe would call Rubio maybe a little bit of a rhino, or, whatever, has been around a long time. And I'm saying, don't micromanage stuff right this second. Remember, this is literally just a week plus from election time. There is what I would say is, quote, a new warp speed. But Trump's putting together his cabinet and his advisors, his team of rivals, all that stuff. Remember, he's not even president yet. Our president is Joe Biden. So I just remind everybody, and our vice president is Kamala Harris. Okay, just to remind everybody. But he's putting together his cabinet really quickly, and once again, I encourage my Republican friends and even Democrats, from just taking a break a little bit until cabinet's formed. We see how the dust is settled. So far, I'm thrilled. I have had to tell a few of my Republican, especially libertarian friends, don't micromanage these cabinets. Sometimes we see cabinets put in, and these advisors don't do anything for 4 years. They're symbolic positions, think Canada. How many people in Ottawa actually do something that makes a change, but we're talking about change every single day. The toughest part of the entire goal here is to make government leaner and meaner, not meaner. Watch that tough word, right? Oh, don't be mean. That scares me. That triggers me. Make it more efficient, much like the good old Twitter, where Musk made it more efficient. It's down to like 1,500 employees, lean and mean, like a Swiss watch. I've always said 2-3 guys in Washington, or people in Washington with 2 or 3 computers, could probably run national healthcare right now. It's a brand new world. To all our Roe v. Wade folks, I just want to let you know, we're not 1972 anymore. Okay. 1972 is a long way. That was when Roe v. Wade. I can't believe I talked about Roe v. Wade. But for everybody, we're in a brand new world here, 2024. Nothing really applies to the past. Total side note, we can save babies now that we never save 20, 30, 40 years ago. Right up to, here we go. Won't get into that conversation, but there's a lot of, as they say, conversations and working together. I think that has now been, is now on a trajectory. It's on a trajectory forward. And honestly, I sound like I'm going a little back and forth here, but there's so much on all of our minds. But as 2025 rolls out, barring the unforeseen, I think we're going to see a wave where, honestly, I think we're going to see record Democrats that just come on board for the American people. Again, I'll keep going to team of rivals. And I really pray, I really mean it. I really pray that this whole woke world, I'm calling it woke world, period. I think it's about 8 or 10 years. I pray it's only 8 or 10 years. I've written about this woke era where we're worried about what we're saying, and worried about blah, 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 and worried about the thought police and the language police. That I think this era is going to go away, maybe even out of fashion, like bell bottoms or pet rocks. And I think they will call it, as I've published, the stupid era. The stupid era. We believed men were women, this type of thing. But boy, ranting a little bit here, Val. I honestly am so thrilled to be back on the air with you. Thrilled to be moving forward in a positive and hopefully really work together way within the country that brings on record Democrats, record Republicans coming together. So if that's a theme, that's cool. If team of rivals is a theme, that's cool. It's easy to win. It's tough to lose. So let's all just keep that in mind. And especially Republicans, just now is the time to just be humble and to work with others. Back to you, Val.
I like that, Greg. I think that spells strength. And if we could, keep a checks and balance kind of mindset, and let's start in our very own court. So, if I was there, I would have my little notepad out and I would be making a list of who says what and what their personal plan is. Because, yes, the president is the leader. And in this case, it's going to be the president on the forefront who's going to recruit more Democrats over to the Republican side. But I would love to see him burn both party names, Democrat and Republican, and birth something new. And this is something new that the American people can get behind. There's been this anti-America sentiment come into the left that's very dangerous. And as someone who covers our top national security stories that are threats and risks to this country, this is a huge one. When the locals embrace that anti-American sentiment and they can't tell you why America is not good, why, they go to work every day, they live there, they're born and raised, but they can't tell you what the problem is. They're following blindly. That's a type of brainwashing that has to be choked out fast. So I think that this is a big one that and Trump owns this, right? He has Vance on his right side. And I think a strong team like that of people that are less about party affiliation and don't hang on to that Republican only, and because that can really get almost like a racist connotation. And there, I said it for you. It can. It's it's time to like put a new attitude on, a new fresh look on, and the more that we can embrace good ideas and good over evil, we are going to become the powerhouse that we always should have been, but clearly have not been. So I think this is going to be a return to reason and a rising, as you said, and a new party emerges from this. And it's going to be less about Trump. And I think that if he surrounds himself with the right people, it's going to be less about Trump and more about America First and America First policies. And it's going to come as much from the right to the left. Because remember, there is just a hashing out that's happening. And there is people that need to leave the Democrat Party and people that need to leave the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
So
what you're talking about has been, I really will try and keep on track today, Val. I really will, because there's so much going on. But what you're chatting about here about the third party concept, it's so not new. It's been talked about for decades and decades. Where is there something in between Republican and Democrat, blah, blah. It's a huge conversation. And every candidate that has ever taken a run at it, because there's a laundry list. Here we go. Anderson. Oh, I can't believe I remembered his name. Anderson. He was a political candidate against Nixon. I'm trying to remember his name. Anderson. I think he was a senator. He was the last. It was the first independent party that I knew. It's always been kind of independent, third party, whatever. We can talk Ross Perot, a libertarian who went independent. We can talk Ron Paul, Ross Perot, Ron Paul. Ross Perot, by the way, single-handedly lost the election for George Bush Sr. because he almost 20% of the vote, 90% of the vote from the people you're talking about, the independents, somewhere in the middle. Don't call them Republican or Democrat, whatever. It's not a new concept, but everyone I almost hear on both sides loves the idea. Can we just have a third party? I personally would love something like the Patriot Party or the Constitution Party or something to reference the Constitution and the Founding Fathers, the whole uniqueness of the United States. Ronald Reagan was so right when he says America's the last bastion. It's the last bastion of freedom on earth. And he was right, because again, now that my Canada has abandoned me from the great 70s and 80s and stuff, I don't see any place, honestly, on earth that has the freedoms we have in the United States. And yes, we're broken, we're beat up, we're, bandages all over us, especially from the last 4 years. No comment. The last 4 years, we needed to see the last 4 years to see what an upside down country looks like, to see what a country looks like that's veering towards socialism, to see what these programs actually look like. And it's not good. It's not good. So is there a third party in the wings? Is there a possibility? Because right now, this minute, no. This minute, no. I hope it changes. But as I've said, and I'm so sad that this era came about, this Republican versus Democrat, but that's all it is. I mean, that's all it is. And to think that the Democrats raised $1 billion and couldn't make it within budget and also lost, you know, but it is that world. And unfortunately, now it's going to stay that way. I think perhaps until maybe the next 1 or 2 election cycles, where unfortunately, and I've said this to many of my kind of political friends. I said this to Sheriff Lamb. I said this to Sheriff Lamb 2 years before he was running for the Senate. I said, sadly, this is an era where you have to take sides. You have to be either a Republican or a Democrat, because it's the only way to win an election now. You know, on the Republican side, I call them Republitarians, who are half libertarian but are smart enough to vote Republican so they can win elections. On the Democrat side, there's so many independents and stuff that are really not hardcore left Democrats and stuff. But right now, sadly, it's a time where unfortunately you have to proverbially smash your opponent's face in. You got to smash your opponent's face in. You got to go win an election, sit in elected office, and then make change, both legislatively, judicially, etc. Sadly, it's that era, but with this is a brand new from November 5th Team of Rivals world. I'm just telling you, this is a brand new world, Val.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes,
A quick question on that front?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How would this play out? What would happen if we banned, just kidding, but banned the word Republican and Democrat, and we took those two terms out of the vocabulary because they're such trigger words to all sides, and instead we had to find other words and other ways? Do you think something like that would work if, say, Trump embraced that from the time he has the microphone as the president, that no more Republican or Democrat, and it's more, what do you think of that?
I think that's a fabulous idea. I would call it the American Party. I'd keep it real simple. The American Party, or America, or whatever. But it would have to be, and this, I think, honestly, Val, you're really touching on an edgy point here. Because I think, sure, no matter what anyone says, how divisive it is, how divided it is now, but it would have to be a timing thing, Val, where everybody decided at the same time to say, okay, we're going to be the America Party, or the American Party. And that would be a combination of a huge conglomeration on the Republican side and a good solid conglomeration on the Democrat side. And this concept is embraced, and it becomes a third party, but technically the first party again, a 1776 party. That could be it, the 1776 party. But either way, that's where, when you've heard America is red, white, and blue, not other colors. The blood is the same color, right? In red, of all cultures, races, etc. I think that actually you're hitting on something really cool, and I think for the first time, I would say I think that's possible. And if it's not possible, let me put it this way: under this administration, this phase, starting November 1st, really launching January 20th with the new administration, if not now, maybe never, because this right now is a trend towards exactly what you're talking about. It's third party. It's the 80% of us on both sides. I love the 1776 party, or the American Party. I mean,
well, I think the American Party is something that they could get behind, and I think if Trump was to go on the microphone, I can see it actually. If he gets on the microphone and he says something along the lines of, "I don't want to see Kamala float away into the darkness. In fact, I want her on the back end advising something." That could be a game-changing moment, because it allows their purpose. Like, if I was president, I would want to know what my enemies are saying and plotting. Absolutely. And be able to come into the purple room and sit down and discuss these things. Right. And if he was to take the microphone and say something like that,
Yeah.
I'm just saying I can see that.
Oh, yeah.
So do with it what you want, but it is possible. And I think there's value in that, because anybody that has a brain knows you don't know everything. And if your attitude isn't to wake up in kindergarten every day, you really shouldn't be in the president's office, as far as I'm concerned.
Now is the time that I think can happen. And all I would say, let's pray on that. That'd be really cool. That if we basically work together a little bit more. Again, if not now, maybe never. But I think it's a great idea, and I think I think there will be some legs. That it'll get some legs. The whole key is, and this is the key. God, I'm digressing so much today. You bring out this spontaneous thing in me, Val, but I see it as a perfect time for that, where there's so many Democrats and Republicans that are now thinking 80% the stuff we agree on. I've heard some stuff, stuff from Bill Maher and stuff that sounds just very, shall we say, nonpartisan across the aisle. So I think now is a perfect time for that kind of to start. But on the other issue, and this is where the rubber meets the road. Rubber hits the road, is there's going to be some really choppy waters coming up here, as Ria Bo would say in England, some real choppy waters. The most that I see, beware for panic here on the left. Okay. I'm telling you, beware for panic when layoffs start, government layoffs start. We've already, when two brilliant people like RFK and Elon Musk, say that they're going to cut the government by $2 trillion. That's their target. And in that is a lot of payroll, a lot of federal employees from a lot of the agencies right now. And this came from RFK. There are now 600 layoffs targeted for the new administration, and it's in one of the departments. I won't even quote it because I haven't drilled down into it. It's like FDA or one of the alphabet networks. There are already 600 targeted, which is just cutting out bureaucracy, the fat, just like Elon did with Twitter, now X. You just cut out the fat. A lot of people don't realize the federal post office. Like the majority of their revenue of the money needed is for labor for union contracts and paying retired people and stuff that doesn't have anything to do with delivering the mail. So stuff like this is going to become issues, but the choppy waters are going to come when there are massive layoffs, because these are going to be people indeed losing their jobs and losing their even if they have what's called a golden parachute, where they're cashed out with severance and stuff. There's still going to be massive layoffs in the federal government. Mark my word. It's going to be thousands, maybe more. And that will be a very, very difficult time, because indeed, once again, those are people losing their jobs, whatever. But I will say, and I've forever said this as a libertarian, the federal government was never meant to be an employer. It was never meant to be an employer. It was meant to develop a military so we can protect ourselves, stick in national highways so our citizens can get back and forth. That's what the federal government's for. It's not supposed to be an employer, never mind the largest employer of the United States. So to trim it back is what everybody would do in their own household, but everyone freaks when it's government. So you're going to trim a couple of $1 trillion, that's going to be lots and lots of thousands of people. But at the same time, and even directly to those federal employees who indeed will be fired or laid off, it's going to be a ton. To them, I say, no spite whatever intended here, but no one had any problems with layoffs during COVID and firings during COVID. Firings and layoff because you refused to get a vaccination, no one had any problem with literally hundreds of thousands of small businesses closing, many never opening again. The excuse was the common good. We had obviously a pandemic and stuff, but I would say sometimes you got real tough adjustments in life, and this scaling back the federal government is the biggest we've ever seen. We're not scaling back the growth of government. We're actually going to be digging in and scaling back the costs. There's going to be huge money now. $1 trillion every 100 days is spent for interest on our national debt. So it'll be the first time, mark this down, write this down, we're going to see the national debt start going down. It's going to be the first, like, write that down. We'll hear it. And that's what has to happen yesterday. And if it doesn't happen now, it never will, because this is the type of scaling back and stuff, and this new trend, as I say, it's going to be 2025. And as I say, Trump he's going to be much more of a CEO here this time around than a politician. Even we see it in the appointment. So I will try not to digress any further. But to answer your question, Val, roundabout, circle back. Yeah, I think it's possible for a third party. And as a matter of fact, I think 2/3 of Americans would support it. But timing is everything. And if anyone understands timing more down the road, as far as maybe a third party, it would be Donald Trump, who could put that deal together. So there we go. Back into your court there, Val.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm just going to kind of sit there for a minute. I think that can work. I'm kind of, just thinking about how happy are a lot of these lifer government employees that check into work day in, day out, have been in the same tedious job that really they know in the whole scheme of things doesn't produce what it really should. They are Americans first and have hopes, dreams, aspirations. And I think look for the entrepreneurial spirit, because that is in the lifeblood and the DNA of America. So I wouldn't at all be surprised where we see that, cream rises to the top, competition reigns supreme. And I think, if you bring in the right kind of motivational or inspiring people, maybe an Elon Musk, or even us, Greg. I mean, we've been through that where you eventually come out to the top where you're like, I have to start a business. This is what I have to do. It really is like birthing a dream. So I think if, instead of COVID, which was heartless and grotesque and just we have zero tolerance, zero sympathy, and this is the way it's going to go. Instead of doing something like that, we approach it with, let's be honest, how happy are you in your go nowhere government job? And here is the pathway to freedom and welcome to America. Like, I would be standing there cheering with them. I would give anything just to have that fresh start. And sometimes I think Americans can forget how hard it is for people on the other side, like yours truly, who has had to go through a lot just to be able to have a shot at starting at ground zero and, starting from nowhere and starting something. And we understand that have a job one day, don't have it the next. Life isn't fair. What are you made of? Grit and determination. Like, this is a chance where you really get to test your limits. And maybe that because I'll be a first generation immigrant to the United States, and I have a story and a journey to share. So my advice to Democrats wouldn't be like, oh, I don't understand. It's like, no, I've lived it. You can do it too. But let's be honest here. You weren't happy. You weren't happy in that going to the same job for 30 years, stamping the same document. Like, take immigration. I'm telling you, that is a dumpster fire from the top to the bottom. Legal immigration. And I will say it until I'm blue in the face. If that is not one of Trump's top priorities, is addressing the illegal sides of legal immigration.
Wow.
So we need to get in there, and I know where to trim the fat there. And that is a big one. That is a monster with two heads.
If I offer hope to you, Val, and everyone out there right now on the immigration side, I think there's going to be, I'm not going to say fixed, but I think it's going to be changed for the better. I'm just saying, and once again, we're in November. We're not even January. We're not even past inauguration. But I'm just saying, again, this is my heart. I think maybe, again, nothing will ever be fixed when it comes to imperfect things in humanity and the country and stuff. But I think there's a good shot. And that would mean people like you, Val, people like, again, disenfranchised federal employees, Canada, the United States, around the world. A lot of people have two things that are real, real bad. One is despair, and the other is hopelessness. You know, my pastor talked about that on Sunday. Those are the two big enemies: despair when you really have given up, and hopelessness where you really don't have hope for the future. And honestly, sadly, I saw just a growth of that type of thinking in the last 4 years. And I saw a lot of that thinking, honestly, back in Quebec, seriously, in the 70s and 80s, where you kind of get despair. You're not feeling good. You're not, even if you got a great job, you're not happy with your job. But then hopelessness that it can't fix in the future. If anything, from a glass is half full standpoint, I'm saying I think there's going to be real improvement there. I think you're going to become an American with a Social Security number, Val. Just there. If God can move mountains, he can probably square that away. But anyhow, but timing's everything. Patience is everything. We all think we're patient until we have to be patient. And then we realize when we get there, we got to be more patient. It's being patient when you're not really in the mood to be patient. That's tough. So, but what's returning to the United States of America, and it will spill over to the rest of the world, including Canada and my brethren in England, my friends in Germany, my friends in Australia. It's going to spill over. There's something missing in the last 4 years that people have not talked about, and it's called confidence. It's called consumer confidence. This changes your economy, and you're talking, Val, to someone who goes back to the 70s. Okay, when consumer confidence is high, which it was in the first 2 years of the Trump economy, write it down. What got in the way was COVID, and it was an opportunity for the left to take down a sitting president. It was COVID, but the consumer confidence was at an all-time high. And I would come home to Deborah and say, consumer confidence is up there. And what's cool is, so people are spending money, they're buying cars, investors are coming from out of the country. There are trillions of dollars put into the U.S. economy in 2016, the minute that the world markets realized Trump was president. But it's confidence. Your prices are good. My gas is $1.75. That's well worth it. If I want to open up a new business, I'm confident that I'm going to succeed. And that has been missing. And that's missing under every socialist government, including that I've seen and including that I've lived under.
Quick question. What about in war days when we had to shift out of wartime, and now we had to go back into, making our marriages work, the economy growing? What was that like? What key lessons were taught, and who did that to kind of like shift us? Who was that body?
Oh my God, that's a loaded historical question right there. Quick, easy question. How do we transfer from basically the baby boom generation to today? Because World War II was the baby boomer generation, and baby boomers were imagine that, seniors, and that's a real tough question to tackle with a quick answer. But what I will say is World War II. People might not remember, we're coming out of economic catastrophe. We're coming out of the crash of the stock market in 1929 and stuff. And World War II was a tragedy, but it pulled together the United States and pulled together Canada, especially economically, because of the war, the war machine. Rosie the Riveter, everybody had to go to work. People are spending money. And I would say World War II, just a generalization, is a time where we truly came together. That was, as I call it, 1950s handshake world, and you had to be to survive. But the war ended, and I'll just say this really broadly. And for a period of time, everything was what I'm talking about is consumer confidence. We came out of the war, and everybody needed to buy houses. People were going to university. The GI Bill, the country. There are programs from post World War II that I love the GI Bill. I love VA loans for mortgages. And again, working together. And believe me, past generations weren't without fault. Okay. So the World War generation and seniors, they had a lot of drawbacks too, which honestly, then came the 60s. In the 60s, I can't believe I'm droning on here today, but it's important stuff. The 60s and the 60s campuses and and I'm going to say the Marxist professors that parachuted in the 1960s and teaching America what Marxism was, and within the campuses and socialism and stuff. But it was the birth of the brand new liberals. I call them 1960s liberals. They're the coolest people in the world, and they parachuted in at a time that the country needed change. There were real problems, and I'm talking, when you talk sexism and this and that and bigoted and alcoholism and stuff, they had big problems back then. So the liberals at that time, and I say it was probably a great time to maybe be a liberal for really the real key core problems and challenges. And if we could have combined kind of the heartfelt 1960s happiness, friendliness, sounds like a John Lennon song, Imagine, which is half Marxist, half peacenik. Imagine, John Lennon, Marxist song, peacenik song. But if we could have had that combination of the industriousness and the team of rivals of World War II, and then the positives of the liberal movement, which really there were some tremendous positives that have happened based on liberalism, even legislation since. But it's the 80%, it's the laws that and direction that apply to all of us. Because since, unfortunately, and especially in the last decade or two, we've just turned to crap with liberalism. We've turned to crap where policies from the 60s and 70s and so they're really not the same policies that should be implemented in 2024. I've said this before. Roe versus Wade, and even the abortion conversation should be a different conversation from it was when it was in 1972 from Roe v. Wade because of medical technology. Hello. This is 2024, everybody. This is 2024. And as Trump knows, and other great people on the Democrat side, where have my JFK Democrats gone? I don't know. But there are a lot still left, Val, where we can work together. We can come to common ground. But as a final note, I encourage everybody to come out of the closet on that one. Just like you're saying, Val, it's time to speak up, whatever generation you are. But it's time also generationally, it's really time for us all to look at what the younger generation, how that can help us, and how the older generation can help younger generation, how the baby boom era and the World War II era can help us in this crazy tech 2024, working together towards a common good. So the long story
Can I touch on that? We're almost up to 10 o'clock, which is going to be Secrets from the Inside here. But I just want to come back to James because James really exemplifies this in his role. And from Continue Mission on Friday night, Kim Justice actually touched on an issue just of doing some audit, checks and balance types of work. And I won't get too much into it, but James, really painted a picture of our vets. And it really touched me deeply because they never stop fighting. When they take that oath and they go and they sacrifice and they risk it all, they don't stop. And I see them as, maybe silently, quietly, but there as a reminder of the security and a reminder of what the United States stands for. And it doesn't matter how little you are and how little your issue is. They are there as a force to make sure that that Constitution remains supreme and strong. And, it's just like I see them now in such a different way that they're, I want to protect and I want to make sure that they're all taken care of. And if I hear an issue, well, I've got a problem. But it's like they're doing so much more. It's like they're doing so much more and are there as a force to make sure. And if we could look at that and use them and honor them, but listen to them, work with them, they're going to be able to teach and show us the pathway. Because I'm the first to admit, here I am trying to trailblaze with a toothpick. They know how to use a shovel. So, like, it's time our generation, like, just kind of sits back, shuts up, listens, and look backwards before we're trying to, create something in front of us. And I think that that's part of the missing piece in this, is who they are and that spirit that they have. Because I just felt that Friday night, and I feel it even today now, that they are our shining stars, and we need to start recognizing and looking to them. So I really hope Trump does something that puts them in a position of power and performance, because they're not done their performance yet. Their most important role and act is coming. So back to you on that.
Right. Quick kind of update, quick little news update to let you know, Captain James McCormick, he was planning on coming in the House, but he is still being delayed. I never ask him why. There he is, Captain James, our resident 3-time Purple Heart recipient, veteran of 2 different wars, current executive director of public affairs for the Vietnam Vets of America, VVA.org, fantastic organization. Again, James was supposed to be on, couldn't come on. I have 2 updates, though, in addition to that. Is first of all, Grizz is watching the show from good old Arizona. He used to be a Seattle guy. I give him a hard time for that, but Grizz is watching in. He said reached out to you and me, Val, saying hello, and he's always a wonderful local loyal listener. Also, Sheriff Lamb would have liked to have been on today, because I always give him an invitation to drop in. He has to make sure he wears his cowboy hat, and stuff. But I just heard from Janelle Lamb, like hot off the press. And Janelle just said, I'll read it to you. Okay. Hey, Greg and Val, please let your listeners know that me and Mark are doing wonderful. We will be speaking all over the country and working hard to help President Trump get our country back on track. Janelle Lamb, that came in 2 minutes ago. Okay. So that's called
Wonderful.
Hot Off the Press. Isn't that cool?
I love that they're going together. What a treat. And so if they are across America, listeners, take the time wherever they're going to be speaking or showing up at, go and listen. This is a power pack team. That's the best news I could have heard this morning. Thank you for that, Greg.
Isn't that great? And I will refer people back to some of the previous episodes you and I have done. I believe, off of the top of my head, I think this is number 64 today, you and I working together, Val. But we have done full shows, full interviews of both Janelle Lamb and Mark Lamb, Sheriff Mark Lamb. His videos are always run the highest viewed on YouTube and stuff, in the YouTube in the old days, Rumble now. But we have done full interviews. Val, you have done full long form interviews of Janelle Lamb twice. You're promoting both for awesome books. Do take a quick minute here. I know we're running up to the hour, but let's just consider this a spillover. Imagine that, to finish up this great chat. Because indeed, I reach out to Captain McCormick and all of his guys. I look forward to listening to him on the Continue mission. And on the Janelle Lamb and Sheriff Mark Lamb right now, the cool thing for me in my heart is that this is the first time so far that they're actually going to be free to be in the private sector. They've been public. He's been a sheriff. He's been a public sector employee until January. And so as a general theme, I have said to them, you are now really going to be even a bigger force for good, because they're going to be freed up, like you say, but staying as a team. Janelle has written a couple of quick books. Take 1 minute here, Val. You have such history with Janelle Lamb. Just talk about her a little bit, their team moving forward to DC, and her books. Minute, maybe 2, but that's so passionate for you. Go ahead and take a minute on Janelle Lamb. It was so nice to hear from you.
Most importantly, I'll make it personal. So she saved my butt when it needs saving. I run a soup program. It's monthly here in Santan Valley area, and it's called Soup Sunday. And basically, it's a chance once a month for our senior populace and everyone in the community, for that matter, to come and have soup. And I lost my star key volunteers to, keep the car on the road, so to speak. And I literally did not know what I was going to do. It was touch and go. And I was really sad because Soup Sunday just celebrated our 2nd birthday. And I needed the manpower. I needed the manpower, and I was really asking Janelle, whose gift is inspiring, and I mean, she is. I mean, you can just read her books, and you will be moved beyond. I think books are her gift, but I needed manpower badly, and so I kind of put the call out, and Janelle came and helped serve soup. She helped with just facilitating that whole thing. And I mean, it was a big job. It was key time during when her husband was running for office, and you only have a short window, so your time is very valuable. And I mean, for selfish reasons, I was like, I need volunteers physically, and you have to be able to dish soup, like hand it out, work with the kids, cut cake. I know it doesn't sound like much, but it really is. And she was just in her element. And she said, Val, like, if you need me to come again, ask. And they just loved her. She's just such a kind, caring, compassionate person. Right. But she was in her element there, just having a servant's heart. And I think that's what it's all about. And that's what we look for in leadership. I see that in Elon as well. I mean, I haven't met Elon in person, but you can tell he just has that servant's heart where he wants to do. And I'm like that too. I want to be in the field. You know, I want to be doing 100 things at once that actually make an impact. And so I just think we're in for a real treat to see what they do across America. This would be a fantastic, that's where our cameras should be following around. I would say follow them around and just beam back to the rest of us what they're seeing and what they're doing. But this is such good news for America. I promise you that if we have couples like them in positions of influence, especially on the global stage, I don't know if they're just going to be in America, but internationally, they will help bring so much hope in. And I often say, fear not, do right, which is Sheriff Lamb's motto, and how he trains his sheriffs. Everybody kind of operates under that. It says law and order, but it packs a punch. Fear not, do right. So when you're facing any kind of challenge or you don't know what to do, I find myself in that boat all the time. What am I supposed to do? And it's like, well, I live here, and fear not. So I'm not going to be afraid. And I am just going to do the right thing and see what happens out of that. And if we all lived like that, like just embrace that small little hope nugget, because if you do not have hope, it means you're dying. That's when you have sworn off hope and refuse to pick up hope, your body is dying from the inside out, in your brain, in your heart. And it's nothing to laugh about. It's really serious. So if we have pockets lacking hope in one of the 50 plus one states, we need to deploy Sheriff Lamb and his wife there ASAP, right away.
Fear not, do right. I'll touch on that. And then also let's do some housekeeping, because we've got viewers from a whole bunch of places right now. Just do some housekeeping. But on that, the fear not, do right, what I took personally from Sheriff Lamb, because I've learned a lot from him personally as he with me in my mentorship a little bit. But the fear not, do right, what he had said, we all have fear. I mean, I wake up every day with fear, especially being Canadian, but we have fear. But he used to say, lean into your fear. Lean into your fear. Don't let it be, but lean into it and then tackle it. Whether you have to, like James McCormick would do, say in military terms, you just go ahead and smash right through it, right through the center of your enemy. But lean into your fear, deal with it. But no, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. And it is for everybody, every human being I know. On the housekeeping thing, again, we're 5 minutes after a full hour show here. We're just kind of spilling over to conversation. Sadly, James McCormick couldn't be in today. I really wanted his catch up on DC, but reaching out, we've got listeners right now. How cool, from Alberta. Imagine this, Alberta's on the radar here quite a bit. I've been contacted by a few people from Alberta, let's say in the last week or so, Val, but Michael Mandeville and stuff, our friend up there, he's just so awesome. And some of the folks in Alberta, we're hearing from Arizona, of course, from Arizona today. We're hearing from Nevada today. I think we're going to have some England folks, some London and England folks tune in, probably on the replay. We'll always have Australia, but that'll be tomorrow. Remember that Australia is always a day forward. But thank you so much, Grizz Paschke, Michael up in Alberta, and all you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Rapid Deployment. We don't announce these things. We don't announce our shows. We just go Rapid Deployment. We've done it a couple of times, and I love that the folks actually indeed follow us and are there from so many different places. So thanks to all you guys. Val, back to you a little bit there. And what I'd say as far as housekeeping wise, let's definitely know where folks can find your work. Let's take a few minutes. I'll take a few minutes on my end, and then just see where the show's going to go from there. Go ahead, back to you, Val.
Okay, I'll do a quick update, and then I'm going to go into our Secrets from the Inside show intro, and we're going to move into that part of the show. Yes, shout out to Alberta. I know that there's so many in Alberta that bags are packed, they're ready to go, and a Trump presidency it puts hope right through the air in Alberta, because there's a lot of people, as you know, 857,523 Albertans were identified, plus that they are ready to go. They're ready to cross. They want a new path forward. Some want to stay in Alberta, but the sentiment to join the United States is big. And so to my cousin, Michael Mandeville in Alberta, thank you, sir. And thank you for watching today. We love you guys, and you are never far from our thoughts. Yesterday, I did share that I indeed would be making sure that official lawmakers in the United States, top lawmakers, in fact, have access to my list, because I do have a list dealing with crime, corruption, and criminal activity, especially in Alberta, which is my backyard. So I am on track, and I have made a commitment and a promise there that it is just not falling by the wayside. So I just wanted to sprinkle hope for you in Alberta. Crime, corruption, and criminal activity, not
First,
on our watch.
There was Dueling Citizens. Now, Secrets from the Inside. Author Greg Meakin nails it again. Introducing Secrets from the Inside Radio Show. Raw, unscripted, uncensored, uncanceled. Secrets from the Inside starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, 'cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. Got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back, 'cause baby, you're the one.
Well, doesn't it figure? Okay. Welcome.
Sorry.
Welcome to Secrets from the Inside. 0024 Captain McCormick. You missed the continue mission military talk. You just missed it, right? Like sometimes you miss a party, right? I've forgotten to watch football games now and then. I am so thrilled to see you here, Captain. I'm so thrilled to see you here. The show's going to be yours here. I want to completely catch up on Scoop inside Washington, D.C. I know you were on the air with Val the other day. I'm going to turn it back, oh my God, for a second to Val Olson. Okay, our facilitator, Miss Val, our military radio gal. Please introduce the show. This is a little reprise of Continue Mission. But you go ahead, take a minute, just start, hard start, cold start, and you introduce our favorite buddy in the whole world, Cap McCormick. I'm so happy to see you on. Thrilled you could jump in. Go ahead, Val.
This is the best part right now, Secrets from the Inside. I mean, the currency here is secrets, and we're ready to hear what's happening in DC. We've already chatted about Friday's show and how busy you are in DC, but I just want to give you the floor right now, Captain James, and tell us what is going on in your world.
Well, I'll tell you what's going on is we're trying to build a robust coalition of veterans organizations and citizens across this country who are willing to come together and just simply do the right thing for our veterans. You know, the Vietnam Veterans of America, their motto is never again shall one generation of veterans abandon another. And that is a bonding statement that transcends any generation. So future generations, past generations, we're building those multi-generational bridges. And in some cases, you're building them over a very large, body of water. And I'm going to be very nice when I say this, because I am, in a professional position here, but I will say this, that sometimes it's made difficult by organizations who have their own agenda and not the agenda of the American people, and not the agenda of the American veteran, and not the agenda of the families of these veterans. There's so many things that we need to get done. And one of the first things that we need to get done is we need to get the Elizabeth Dole Act on the floor. We need to get it passed, and we need to get it moving forward. We think that there's so many great provisions in there that are going to make access to healthcare more available. It's going to, create an opportunity for people to have a closer relationship with their VA medical providers. And that's important, you know what I mean? Because we really have to, to look at the treatment options and look, sometimes you have to go outside the VA healthcare system in order to get the proper care. That's just the facts of life. No one is saying, shut down the VA. I think the VA has a great medical program. We are all for expanding, enhancing, improving, and access to healthcare and to benefits for the veterans and their families is extremely important for us. So much so that we're taking this fight on the Hill. We're up on the Hill 3 days a week at minimum 3 days a week. And some weeks we're up there all 5 days. And sometimes we're up there on Saturdays. It depends, or Sundays, whenever they're going to have a hearing or whenever they're going to have a discussion or a floor vote, because it's important to understand that you have to have people that are up there that are not just bureaucrats. We don't have bureaucrats in this organization. We don't. We don't hire swamp rats. We don't do that. We're all about going out to the American people, the veterans, the citizenry in this country that really want to come here to fight, and to fight for the right reasons. So I think that some of the key things that we need to look at right now is the passage of the Elizabeth Dole Act, and we're hoping to get that on the floor next week. Vietnam Veterans of America has made that very clear in our support of that. We are also very clear in our support for Gold Star Wives, Sons and Daughters in Touch, which is a Gold Star organization of children that lost their parents in combat. And we are about, maintaining the integrity of the Gold Star symbol. We do believe, however, that there should be separate categories for those that have lost loved ones in other ways. And we think that that's the best pathway forward to establish groups that, specifically address issues like suicide. We have a serious suicide crisis in America, and everybody's saying, well, we're all for ending and eliminating suicide, but you really need a group of the survivors of those service members, both those that served and those that were not serving when they died. And they need to be in their own collective groups so that they can move forward and to help each other. And then we all work together. The same thing for those that are killed in tragic accidents. Maybe it's not combat related. Look, the loss is the same. It's a very painful to lose someone. But there is a distinct difference in a Gold Star family. And that Gold Star family is someone that has lost someone in combat operations. So I think that, we need to really look at that. We really look at how we identify that, but not so much, has nothing to do with pride or anything like that. It has everything to do with the simple fact that you have to put people collectively together so that they can work on answers. Why did your loved one commit suicide? Why did that helicopter crash and kill 14 people? And if you don't have people out there, if you're just all lumped into one area, then you totally lose that value of collaboration, so that we can work on policies that make it safer for our troops to train. We can work on policies that make the treatment of our veterans and the transition program better, so that they're not committing suicide. Whereas if you put everybody together and say, well, they're all just Gold Star families, then that totally leaves everyone thinking, well, everybody lost their loved one in combat. And they totally lose sight of the purpose. And the purpose is to come up with a solution to prevent it in the future. Now, my dad died when he was 52 years old of cancer related to his service in Vietnam. But I am not a Gold Star son, and nor should I be considered one, even though he picked it up in Vietnam and brought it home with him. But I do think that there needs to be a distinct group that recognizes that death and looks for ways to better treat service members in the future. Had they fixed this and had everyone been able to come together collectively, and you didn't have these individual operations of groups that have their separate agendas, then we probably could have come up with a very good solution, a legislative, codified solution to deal with toxic exposure and to deal with, and oh, by the way, we're going to do the research on the kids and the grandkids. Because if your child is born with spina bifida, or your child is born with a cleft palate, and it's the same group of people that have these children, then we probably need to do some research to determine what in that chemical, that defoliant, that inoculation, whatever it is they gave us, potentially could have caused that. So that guess what? We take it out and we don't do it in the future. The same thing with water purification systems on ships. And the United States Navy, they need to do a better look at that, because they still have people that are getting sick. They're drinking water that you're desalinating from the ocean, and it's filled with chemicals. Look, the oceans are polluted. I'm not sitting here going on a tangent for environmental stuff here, but what I'm saying is that we got to do a better job of protecting our currently serving members. So that, these Vietnam veterans that I serve, even though I'm not a Vietnam veteran, I'm an Iraq and Desert Storm veteran. 2 wars, and both of them had bad shit that happened. You know what I mean? People got sick. You had burn pits. You had, shots that they gave us. Hell, they gave me a pill called a pyridagus, something kind of pill they gave me for anti-nerve gas. And to this day, I can't remember half of the damn war, the combat piece of Desert Storm. So, I'd like to figure that out. Why? Maybe I don't want to remember it, all of it. But for me to think that war was like a dream or a nightmare, and not have any real solid memories that are sticking, well, there's a problem there. And then maybe that's been passed on to my kids or my grandkids. And it's not fair for them, and it's not fair for me to just stand up there and thump my chest and say, well, it's all about me. It's all about my generation. And it's not. It's about past generations, current generations, and future generations. And that's what we are building here at VVA, is the bridge to bridge these generational gaps so that everybody has a seat at the table. And guess what? If somebody says, well, there's not enough room at the table, let me tell you, we stretch the table out, we add another chair. That's what we do. So that's who we are at VVA. I'm telling you, those Vietnam veterans have been fighters their whole life. And, I was raised by one that was he was just an ass-kicking paratrooper. You know what I mean? He fought in the battle at Dak To Hill. He went back to Vietnam after spending almost 2 years in a hospital. Went back to Vietnam again. And I remember him coming home, and I remember that whole experience with the VA medical system that was broken at the time. 1978, I'm telling you, I was sitting in there 10 years old with my dad and watched a damn mouse run across the floor. And people laughing and throwing stuff at it. I mean, there was trash, people were smoking in there, everything else. Well, things needed to change. And because of that generation, they drastically improved overall health care for veterans.
Right.
They went in and said, no, this is not going to happen to my son. And that's the unselfishness of this organization that I love so much, because they're not a selfish group of people. And a lot of people could take some advice from these Vietnam veterans, because ain't nobody came home and got treated any worse than the Vietnam veterans. And you know what they did? They pulled up their boots, they washed their face, they combed their hairs. My good friend Dominic Yezu told me one time, his mom told him, says, Dominic, when he came home from Vietnam, he said, wash your face, comb your hair, and go to work. And that's what they've done. And I'm telling you, that's an example that needs to be set for future generations. So when these other organizations around here, they're beating a drum just for their financial gain or whatever, and I'm not saying they're all like that. They all do great things, don't get me wrong, but they don't want to share a damn table with all the other groups. They want to be the head of the table, and they want to gobble everything up, and it ain't going to happen, and we're out here working. We're out here working for the American people, for that veteran that lives out in the middle of Montana, or out in the middle of West Virginia, or Kentucky, or Ohio, or Virginia, wherever they may be at, in some small town or some small community, or their neighbors don't even know what they did, how they served their country. Look, I came to New Haven, West Virginia in 2006 after getting out of the hospital, and continued to serve in the Army until I was medically retired in 2009. Not a damn soul around that area knew the warfare that I'd went through. They had no idea. They just thought I was some kind of a nut, that kept to himself. And because of that, there's a lot of misconceptions about veterans, that we're all crazy. We've all got post-traumatic stress, and that's just not the case at all. We're not all that way. So anyways, that's what I'm doing up here on Capitol Hill, is I'm trying to be a voice for that person that's sitting somewhere right now,
Right.
and can't figure out why they can't get any benefits, they can't get any help, and why people look down upon them, whenever the citizenry should look up to that group of people, because 98% of people enjoy a freedom that 2% provide. And we need to do a better job at taking care of that too. If we can't take care of the 2%, then how in the heck are we going to take care of the 100%? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So thanks for having me on the show. And
Captain, thank you for that. Your monologues are so educational. Thank you for that. I want to ask you a quick question.
Sure.
We've talked about many times in the last couple of years doing radio. We've talked that the VA has come a long way, but it's got a long way to go.
Sure.
The Defense Department has come a long way, but it's got a long way to go. I want your comment. We spent a lot of the first hour, Val and I, talking about Team of Rivals, where we're actually truly crossing the aisle and bringing on our rivals. I do want to hear about you saying hello to Kamala Harris, but also I'd like to comment on Pete Hegseth, named Department of Defense. Seth read most of his stuff. He loves the VA and wants to see reform, but just your comment there.
Yeah, well, look, so I worked with Pete Hegseth years ago with an organization called Vets for Freedom. I was the West Virginia State commander for that organization. And so Pete Hegseth, and there were some others that were involved with that organization. One of them's a Medal of Honor recipient. It's going to be interesting to see, his take on the Department of Defense. Now, obviously, I think that some people are concerned. You know what I mean? They talk about experience, and they talk about all of these things. But look, I've been in wars where I've had to take privates that have been in the Army for a year, maybe half a year, and say, you got to take charge of this squad now, and you got to go and accomplish that mission. And I don't want to hear no damned excuses. You get out there and you accomplish your mission, securing a convoy, clearing a route, taking objective, period. And I think that Pete possesses that same skill set to be able to do that. I think that, there's going to be people, I know that there's going to be people that are going to push back. But, obviously in my role that, I don't have a dog in that hunt. Right now I'm just looking at, here's what I will tell you. I don't care who gets put in there. They better take care of the veterans, or else I'm going to be knocking on your door and I'm going to be telling people. I can't endorse anybody, but I can darn sure tell the truth about what they do, and more importantly, about what they don't do. And we have a mechanism for that, a communications piece for that. And the American people, don't piss down my neck and tell me it's raining. Okay. There's a saying that, okay. So yes, we've got better benefits, but you're still pissing down my neck because we still got a ways to go on some of this stuff. And yes, that's foul, and maybe that's a little crude how I'm saying that. But the reality is that person that's living in the middle of America right now, I'm not talking about Captain James McCormick, who, I had the ability. Thank God I was a captain. Okay. I went through a warrior transition unit where I had guys that have been in the Army, maybe 4 or 5 years, trying to order me around and tell me to get in form, do all this other stuff. And it's like, look, I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to talk to me that way. You talk to these other people that way. And that's a damn shame, because every one of those people that were leading us around had never spent one day in combat. And they're out there in leading a warrior transition unit. Of everybody there was a Purple Heart recipient. Some of us 2 and 3. Some of us had rank, up to majors. Lots of sergeants, lots of young private first class and E4s and corporals and sergeants who were getting medically retired out of the Army. So we've seen that, We've seen that abuse of power. And so we're going to watch out for that, no matter who's leading, the charge. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent. I have my own personal beliefs. And most people know them, but what I care about is what you do, not what you say. You're either going to do it, and if you don't do it, then I'm going to let you know. That's simple.
Captain, quick question. Val said you met Kamala Harris.
I did.
Can you share that? Yeah. Just share that experience with our listeners.
Look, I'm going to tell you, I've met a lot of politicians, presidents, presidential candidates. I've met the current elected president-elect Donald Trump. Met him a few times. President Biden. Each one of those meetings, and some people say, "Oh, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't shake that person's hand." Then you're a fool for not doing that. You need to talk to every one of them, because you can get something out of everyone, especially if you disagree on anything. So regardless of who you support or you don't support in the political sphere, you got to open up the pathway to communications. And you do that by not being bombastic or arrogant. And I never got that feeling out of anybody. I've heard people say bad things about every one of these folks. Okay. And that to me is the shame. That is a shame, because it's like, they're not all bad. There are some people that are all bad. Saddam Hussein was all bad. The people that ran Al Qaeda, all bad. None of them were good. Okay. Hitler, all bad. You know what I mean? I don't know that there was a redeeming quality on any of those folks that I just mentioned, but that's not so here in the United States. the fact that they're willing to have a conversation, the fact that they remember who you are when they see you later in the hallway, that speaks volumes for their character. Even though you may not agree with everything, you got to have that conversation. America has got to stop being so damn obstinate and shutting people out, because it's killing us as a nation. So we need to come together, have a conversation. Burn down. If you burn anything to try to send a message, then your message sucks, because you have to make such a scene in order to get it out. If your message didn't suck so bad, then you'd be able to say it and articulate it in a way that people would say, oh, I get it. And, oh, no, I don't get it. I don't like what you're saying. So
what was your impression of Vice President Harris? Just that interaction.
Very cordial, very nice, professional, in the meeting. It was, I know people say, whoa. But let me tell y'all something about our current elect President Trump. When it was her birthday, he wished her a happy birthday. And people said, boo, boo, all this other stuff. And what did he do? He was a diplomatic leader, says, no, don't do that. Mm-hmm. No, you wish her a happy birthday. And he said, sincerely, I wish you a happy birthday. And that, to me, was a huge olive branch that was being handed over. And now we have to see the other side reciprocate. And I think we have, because there hasn't been look, the media's been jockeying this crap since November the 5th. Okay, whatever. We had all of this upheaval and turmoil during the last election. I hope we don't ever see that again. I really do. And you have to be willing to be an adult. You know what I mean? Be a mature, civilized. Being a patriot is more than just growing your hair long, spitting out, foul language. That's not about being a patriot. Being a patriot is about respecting that Constitution of the United States of America and understanding that all men are created equal and we are granted certain inalienable rights. Okay. And we have to respect that. And we have to be able to say, it's okay for you to have a difference of an opinion, and it's okay for you to have a difference of an opinion. We in the veteran circle, we have only this opinion. Take care of the veterans, take care of the families, respect our Constitution, and take care of our currently serving service members, so that you don't create a bigger need in the future, because we've once again stepped on it and got a lot of people sick. And that's, I can't make it any more plain than that. I'm trying to drill this down in a way that people understand. Now, I've got people out there that hate me for breathing. I'm just telling you, because you send a message out that they don't like. They don't like it because I can look at the person on the right and the person on the left, and I don't care if they're polar opposite on their political views. Right. I promise you this, that if I put them in the middle of a combat scenario where people are trying to kill you, they are going to work together. They'll figure it out. And that's what we need from Americans now, because we're close to that. We're close to that point where people are, there's a vitriol out there and a hatred. It's unbelievable. And, look, I'm a soldier. That's it. And I follow legal orders. And I've told people that gave illegal, immoral, improper orders that I will not follow that order. I have done that in my 22-year career. I'm not going to do that, because it's wrong. And it goes against the principles of being an honorable citizen and an honorable soldier. And that's the key word, honorable. And some people need to get that back in their life, is that honorable piece. You know, they can hate me all they want and not like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. Where in the Constitution does it say that the First Amendment is only for, you know, a certain group of people? It doesn't. So we have to deal with it. The Second Amendment, the Third Amendment. Shall we go on? All the way up. You know, let's go to the 10th Amendment that says anything that's not in here, look, it belongs to the states, right? The states have a right to manage themselves and to create certain things. It's worked for almost 250 years.
That's right.
And I pray to God it'll work for the next 250 years. And that we can come together and make it work. I mean, it's very simple. You know, everybody has a place. And I love all people. I do. I don't care what they're, you know, I don't care about anything that they stand for, other than they stand for being an American and being loyal to this country. That's the biggest thing for me. I will, you know, John Wayne had this thing that he said in The Shootist. He said, you know, I'll not be manhandled. I'll not be touched. You know what I mean? I don't do it to other people. And so I won't have that done to me. And while, you know, it was a movie, there were a lot of things that John Wayne gave in his last movie, The Shootist, okay, that are pretty profound and resonate today. You know, that we have got to take a stand for the right things. And there's always going to be somebody that's going to, you know, come into the room, you know, drink all the punch, flirt with all the ladies or the men there, piss on the fire, and then they're going to leave, you know, because that's just what they do. And we as American citizens, and more importantly, a unified nation, need to look at those people and say, you know, that's not how we conduct ourselves. That's not how we do business. You know, we're going to sit down, we're going to have a civil conversation. And, you know, when somebody comes up and starts screaming and yelling, they've lost me. I don't have any desire to have anything to do with them. You know, they don't respect the U.S. Constitution. They don't respect themselves, most importantly. And they most certainly don't speak for anyone but themselves when they're out there carrying on and, you know, burning the flag and doing all this other stuff. Yeah, sure, it's their constitutional right to do it, but it's also a stupid thing to do. You know, what does it accomplish other than make you feel good because you're not so angry because you took something out on an inanimate object, or you burnt down somebody's business, or you busted out the windows in the U.S. Capitol, or you hit somebody with a pole? Because why? What did that do? That did nothing. That did nothing to establish anything righteous. And we need to get back to, I mean, we need more adults in the room. We just do. And I'm just, and we have some up here, believe it or not, we do. We have some great politicians up here and staffers. And we have wonderful veterans, you know, that served in the Vietnam War and other wars. And guess what? They're gonna keep fighting till the day they die. And with the way some of these World War II veterans are living to be 109, 110 years old, fully expect these Vietnam veterans to be around just as long. You know, because they got a purpose and they see, you know, that purpose. And then not only that, they have their sons, their daughters, their grandsons, granddaughters. And we just keep getting born all the time. You're in the McCormick family. Understand, I got 11 grandkids that's coming after us. 8 kids.
I have a quick question for you, James. I just want to, I'm seeing the Vietnam vets and the role that they have now. Their mission never ends. And do you think we're going to see them move into more of a diplomacy role, perhaps? Because I think that's where they're really needed. We need them to show us, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. I would love to see no more Republican, no more Democrat, but have, as Greg says, the American Party. Because one thing that I've noted of our soldiers is that they are less about getting hung up when somebody publicly says something nasty or does something they don't agree with. There seems to be something perhaps in your training that prepared you that you are to represent all Americans and represent the Constitution. And it seems to be missing in our public because we tend to get, in fist fights and we get angry and we get hostile towards each other. So is there something there that we can learn from our vets that's really important right now?
Well, it all starts with education. There is a lack of education among citizens in the art of civics, the U.S. Constitution itself. I was looking for a card that I had here, but I don't have it. But there's a lack of education. And so, yes, the answer to that is yes, the Vietnam veterans of America are the adults in the room that are really trying very hard to bring people together. And it's not taking people to the woodshed. You know what I mean? That's going to accomplish nothing. That's why you don't see us yelling and screaming and cussing and carrying. Now, there was a time when they had to, they have to fight and make their voice be heard, but it's always been respectful. And that's the difference in what I call a well-educated, well-articulated citizen. Now, one that's not well-educated and not well-articulated, that person will generally show up, probably isn't, properly, personal hygiene has probably escaped them. You know what I mean? The ability to have a conversation at a level, at a voice level that is not this high or this low, that escapes them. They usually come out screaming, yelling, lying. Lies are just so powerful now. And people, because of that lack of education, they won't take the time to go and research a lie. They'll just say, oh, it's on Facebook, must be the truth. Or it's on X, it must be the truth. Oh, it's on Rumble, it's on this, or it's on that. Don't take what I say to be the truth, folks. Just go look around. If you think I'm wrong, you go on out there and you have a conversation with a screaming idiot and see how long that goes on. So you never get anything accomplished when you're dealing with people that have, like I said, the people that show up to the party, drink all the punch, flirt with all the girls and the guys, piss on the fire, and they leave, okay? Or they walk in an elevator and fart and get off on the next floor. That's the kind of people that we're talking about here, okay? And they have no place in leadership. They have no place in a civil society. They have no place really at all, other than a place to show us exactly what we don't want to be. Is we don't want to be that way. So all these kids and stuff that are watching, they watch and they say, oh man, that's funny. They watch TikTok and all these crazy things, where people do the stupidest things. And I say, if you're going to use TikTok for a righteous reason, like showing people how to have a civil debate. We used to have debate teams all over America. High schools had debate teams. Well, they can't do it no more because nobody can have a civil debate. And we don't have teachers out there that are qualified to teach it. And if they do, then they've been fired or they've been ostracized or they've got tired of the current, system and how it works. And they've just said, I'm just going to retire and leave. I've known many a great teachers that just couldn't take it anymore. So the first chance that they got, they retired and they left. So we are really trying hard to be that voice of reason that one group that you can still come to that will listen to you and not try to force our beliefs on you. So I'm really proud of that fact. And the Military Order of the Purple Heart, that's another group. Here's the crazy thing about what you see going on Capitol Hill. The Military Order of the Purple Heart is one of those organizations that our motto really has been, to one day have a country that has no more need to have a Military Order of the Purple Heart because nobody else is getting wounded and killed. And so people look at that and say, well, you're trying to, you're trying to shut your own doors. And it's like, we hope to be able to shut our own doors one day, because that means your sons and daughters and your grandsons and granddaughters aren't getting horrifically wounded and killed. But there are other groups that are not that way, that advocate for a whole different thing, that are profiteering off of death and suffering. And I think that, and no, it's not the military industrial complex. It's other groups that are out here supposedly existing to help, veterans and their families. And we got to get away from the point to where we stop. When we stop advocating for peaceful solutions, then we become a very disillusioned and chaotic society. We have to all look for peaceful solutions. So you won't hear me bad mouthing, political parties or anything like that, because there's no value in that. I will tell you when someone votes for veterans, and I'll tell you when they vote against veterans, or they say something that is counter to the message of unity. Because honestly, we got to get to a point to where we stop accepting that as normal, because it's not normal. We have to come together. So now's the time to come together. And look, whoever gets appointed to secretary here, this person there, whatever, you know what? Accept it. That's God's will. That's where we're at. And the more you cry and wail about it, the worse it's going to be. It's like there's some people that got elected that I wish that didn't get elected. But guess what? When they get into that position, they will have my respect. Obviously, that goes from the dog catcher up. Okay. I'm me personally, I'm kind of happy, to see things moving in the direction that they're moving. Some people are not happy about that. But regardless, show some respect and then have the ability to open up a conversation, because if all you're doing is screaming and yelling, then it's like this right here. Let's take this cup, for instance. Okay. I can talk in this cup, right? It's like an echo chamber. I don't hear that. I don't hear my words say anything else other than what I want to hear. When you're talking in an echo chamber and just talking around people that live in, it's like talking in this cup. It does no good. So that's why you got to open up that conversation piece, and you got to allow those people that disagree with you to civilly be able to communicate that. Now, if they can't do it civilly, then shut them off, because there's a passage in the Bible that says, dust off your sandals and move to more fertile ground. Don't cast your pearls before the swine. There are some people that will never get the message. Don't waste your time. Okay. Because if not, look at all this gray hair James has got. It continuously gets grayer and grayer. I don't know what's going on. Must be working on the hill here.
James, I was going to mention your hair looks a little bit gray, but looks pretty nicely combed and stuff today. Looks like you're ready to go to work, man. You've been working since, I'm sure, sunrise. Very quick.
About 5:30, yeah.
Two things. Number one, how's your time looking? We're real concerned about your time. You're such a busy guy. And secondly, I always love, no matter how much serious stuff has been chatted about, I love to hear either a personal anecdote or story and or a secret from our guest. You give us something personal, something hopefully that you've never said on the air before. And how is your time, sir? It's so nice to have you on, James. It really is.
Yeah, I've got a couple minutes. Let's see. Secrets. I don't have that many secrets. I don't. I have some. My wife and I have some secrets. You know what I mean? That we share together. But it's. I'm not sure that I have anything that would represent a secret. But I do have. I potentially let me think about this for just a second, okay? Because I'm writing a book right now, okay? And I've let a couple of these chapters slip out, because I want to hear what people say. I want to get your opinion. Is this something that you will buy? And quite frankly, I think it is something that people will buy.
Yes.
In writing that book, I have uncovered many memories. Okay. There have been things that I have buried in the past, things that I haven't thought of much. And some of those things are quite shocking, to some people. When war, there's no second place in war. Okay, that's what I will tell you. There's no second place. You either win or you lose, and there's no trophies for the losers. And I think anytime that I look at that experience in either Desert Storm or Iraqi Freedom, the one thing that resonates with me more than anything was the ability for people from all over this country to come together for one common goal. And that common goal was victory and survival. Victory and survival. And I don't know that that's that much of a secret or that much of a story, but I have hope that we can do that for America outside of warfare. And I guess, I am an optimist. I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm very optimistic about the lamb being able to lay down with the lion. I'm very optimistic about that. I'm very optimistic about the ability of people to be more accepting and willing to just unconditionally love each other as Christ loved us. And so maybe that's not so much of a secret, but that's how James McCormick feels. And every time that I approach something every day, when I come into this office every day, I genuinely love the people I work with and love to tell them good morning and see their shining, happy faces. Because for me, it's a lot easier to work in a place where there's happiness and not just bitterness that's resonating. And we have a lot of happiness and a lot of joy here. And we try to keep that going. So again, from warfare, I was taught that people can come together to survive and achieve victory. And my hope is that we can do the same thing with the American people as it relates to our ability to come together as a citizenry. I say to you all, if nobody's told you they loved you today, I do.
James, your message is so inspirational. Quick question for you. Quick question. You're clearly a great boss.
I don't know that I'm a great boss. I think I've been blessed with some wonderful people that God has put in my pathway.
Sure, but out there, just telling you, okay, they're good bosses and they're bad bosses. You're clearly, obviously, your experience as a captain and a leader of men has affected it. Leader of men has affected it. My question to you is real directly. Do you think that there's going to be an era of good bosses like you and like me? I mean, I know people from 40 years ago, right? They felt just like you. Do you think there's an era? Do you think there's going to be more pulling together a little bit of the old generation teaching? Do you think there's going to be an era, a movement forward there, or do you think we're going to simply get arm's length technology separate from each other forever? Question on that.
I think that it's very possible. I think that ultimately you have to have the willingness to love people in your heart. You have to have the ability to detest human suffering. And I detest it. If anybody hates warfare, nobody hates warfare more than me. And that sounds strange coming from a guy who participated in it for 26 months. I mean, and you know, but it's the worst. It's the worst of the worst. And I can't stand to see human suffering on any level. It hurts me. Now, some people have taken advantage of that compassion that you have. You got to learn to accept that. Again, it's like the people that come in, drink all the drink, flirt with everybody, you know, pee on the fire and leave the party, okay? There's going to be people like that. But 98% of the people that you approach with a level of compassion will reciprocate that compassion, if not to you, to someone else in the future. And we call that paying it forward. And we need to live our lives paying it forward, our lives paying it forward. You have to do that. You have to be understanding. You cannot, you ever seen the one person that seems to always get picked on, and then everybody just piles onto that person, piles on. I'm not the guy that piles on. I'm the kind of guy that stands there, regardless of their position. I will not let you pile on. You'll have to pile on two of us. And I think we need to get to that position in America again. We can't stand bullies. We can't stand, Americans have hated bullies since the beginning. That's the reason why we had our freaking War of Independence. We couldn't stand the bullying from the British. We kicked them out because they were such big bullies. And believe me when I say we have bullies in America and narcissists, you know, that take advantage of people's compassion. And we have to get to a point to where we stand up for each other. Because then what you'll find is there won't be that ganging up mentality anymore. And that's what people do. It's the big Me Too movement. Me too. I want to jump in on this, jump in on that, jump in on that. I know there's another Me Too movement going on, but I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about let me be part of this. Yeah, let me get a kick in on this guy. You know, why? Did he do anything to you? No, but everybody else is kicking him. Let me kick him too. And that's the ignorance that just keeps breeding in this nation. And we need to get away from that. So leaders don't do shit like that. Real leaders don't do that. Real leaders step in and say, no, we're not going to have that. Real leaders step up and say, no, we're going to wish her happy birthday. That's what real leaders do. And they need to take an example from that one thing. If you can't take it from me or from the millions of veterans that have served down here and the thousands and thousands that gave their lives in defense of this nation, then at least take it from the most recent action by our current President-elect Donald Trump that says, no, don't boo that woman on her birthday. We're going to wish her a happy birthday. That's civility. Embrace that. And God will bless you for it. So there you go. That's
wow. Well, Captain McCormick, what do you really think? You've been on a tear today. Thank you for that great stuff.
I got to pop smoke, man. It's almost 1 o'clock. Got to go.
I know. Val, quick summary here, just and let's say goodbye to James. I'll give it to you. Just wrap up and extra him, and you and I will stay on here after James leaves. Thank you. God bless you, Captain McCormick. We'll be in touch later this week, but thanks for your input. You were fabulous today.
Take care.
That is Captain James McCormick. Don't forget, you can listen to him each and every Friday night, Continue Mission Radio Show. This is where hundreds of thousands of vets gather, and you get an eagle-eye view right from Captain James' mouth of what's happening in D.C. And today was a real treat on Secrets from the Inside. He took us right into the inner corners of the White House, talking about his interaction and engagement with Kamala Harris, Vice President. And did you feel that today, Greg? That sense of unity that's rising up, and also almost a manual of how we can be and as we transition into this new age of power, and it's going to be different this time. Seeing President Trump elect wish Kamala Harris a happy birthday. Little thing that's a big thing, and there's a lot of people that he influences. So I loved that story. Wasn't that great?
Fantastic. And I tell you, it was almost like he was present for the first hour, because we were talking team of rivals and working together.
Yes.
Working on the 80% of stuff that we agree with, and move forward with a continued mission and a common mission. It was a fabulous visit by Captain James McCormick once again. If you would, let's do kind of a wrap and an extra here, Val. I will turn it back to you. I've got more that I can talk about for episodes coming down the road. There's so much to chat about, but what I'm hearing, and hearing from James, from you, from everyone I'm running into, I'm hearing consumer confidence. I'm hearing an optimism. I'm hearing a willingness to work together. And there are going to be folks on both sides, the fringes, that will never work together. That's fine. But I think that they're going to go out of style. And I think working together is going to come in style. And James, I think, epitomized that. I feel the optimism. I feel it from you. You feel it from me. And in the end, it's called consumer confidence. And it can also be called faith and hope. It's allowed to be called that too, but it's consumer confidence. It's an optimism for what lies before us in 2025, with a humility, though, and an understanding that we're going to have our challenges. There's going to be choppy waters. But that's what I hear today. And if it's even minutely that way for 2025, that we do really start working together, it's amazing what we can do when we work together, just like a good hockey team. I will leave off today. If you would, Val, if you can do a full outro here as far as where we can find your work, where we can find James's radio show, and yes, indeed, where you can find my work and my book. So I'm going to leave it with you, and I'm going to leave it just here, which I always do with every radio show, and it really is reaching out to everybody out there. Do not be in despair. Do not be hopeless. Fear not, do right, and lean into your fear. But most importantly, wake up in kindergarten every day. There is so much to learn and so little time, because before you know it, you're in first grade. God love you, Val Olson. God love you, audience from everywhere. And we'll see you next time. Go ahead and outro, Val. You've been great.
So Greg's book is available right now on his website. Don't forget to stop by gregmeakin.com. While you are there, you can also, we didn't have time to touch on it today, but for those of you who want to do some homework, you can check out Greg's list. And there's 12 reasons why Donald Trump will kick butt. So if you want to do some homework, check out that article on gregmeakin.com. You'll find his book there, or on demand. You'll get it in your inbox really fast as well. Go to Amazon and you can find it there. My work is available right here on X Spaces. That, I've been on X Spaces. I was probably one of the first original X Spaces broadcasts before Tucker Carlson made it famous. So I've been around for a while. There's a repertoire there. ValOlsonNews.com. You can support my work there. Captain James McCormick, one of our favorite radio hosts and soldiers of all time, 3-time Purple Heart award recipient. Captain James, continue mission each and every Friday night on Blog Talk Radio. So this is Secrets from the Inside, episode 0024. Thanks for joining us. Share this broadcast, and we will be back soon.